Hello, in this video we will study about three different cloud platforms, AWS, Azure and GCP. We know these three are leading in the market. So, in our theory subject, we have to study about these three platforms, and in lab we are going to explore only about these two platforms, Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. Right? Let's understand what are these platforms and what are the specialities of these, which one is very popular, which one we have to study, or which one you have to choose as your career. All that we can discuss in this video. So, a little about cloud computing again. So, we have to understand, we know that these three are cloud platforms. So, cloud computing, we have discussed that it is mainly for two purposes. One is for storage, the other is for computation. Right? So, to store extensive data, we don't have enough space in our laptops or systems, so we go for cloud. And to execute programs, to run big data processing, big data algorithms, to run AI models, to train deep learning models, we don't have enough computation. So, again we look after cloud computing. Right? So, cloud computing is mainly for storing and accessing the data and programs on remote servers that are hosted on the internet instead of our hard disk or local server. Right? We keep everything in the internet or in the cloud. That's why cloud computing is also called as internet based computing. Why? You are able to access the computing through the internet. You log in into your cloud platform using your credentials. If you should have internet for that, then you can access the platforms. You can either store your data, you can execute your programs, you can train your models, you can do whatever computation you want to do in the cloud. Right? And the data which we are storing, it could be in any format. When you are talking about storage, you can store image, video, file, document, any kind of data, and you bring whatever size of data, hundreds and thousands of TB you bring, they will have the space. Cloud providers provide us enough space to store the whole data. Right? So, some important operations that can be performed in the cloud platforms are storage, backup and recovery of data. Best example is Google Drive. We can store all our data in that. Wherever we want, we can access it. Right? Then delivery of software on demand. You can have, cloud providers like AWS, Azure and GCP and many other, they design some services and they deploy it, and they are readily available for all of us to use. Right? Some of the services are readily available. They are selling their services. We can use them. So, delivery of service on demand, whatever service we want and how much time you want to access it, you can access it. Then development of new applications and services. In cloud, we can write programs. See, the trend is going to change now. We are not going to write programs in our VS Code in our local machines. Though you are writing it, you can practice it, you can test your program, but the final code will be written and deployed in the cloud itself. That's what is happening now. Even AI ML applications, what we are seeing, today we are training in our local servers or GPU machines, but in future even that AI ML model training, design, everything will be happening in the cloud itself. Then streaming of videos and audio. Streaming is one very important feature of cloud. Cloud platforms provide us lot of services related to streaming. YouTube streaming, you are able to watch YouTube videos, right? They are using Google Cloud Platform. That storage is being done in GCP, and the stream processing, when you are watching a video, you are able to see that you are accessing the video stored in GCP, stored in Google Cloud Platform. Right? The backend cloud platform for YouTube is Google Cloud Platform, because YouTube is a product of Google. So, GCP is a platform for that. So, all these platforms, all cloud platforms provide us lot of services. Right? So, we will try to see what all services they are trying to show us or help us in by doing business. Right? So, three platforms are dominating in the market: Amazon Web Services AWS, Microsoft Azure, and then Google Cloud Platform GCP. These three are trending. Almost 85 to 90% of the market is with these three platforms. Right? And all these platforms, they have comprehensive suite of services. AWS has more than 300 plus services. Azure has some 250 plus services. GCP might have very less, some 100 plus services, but yet they are very powerful. right? So they have lot of services using which you can access it. See, you want, when I am saying you can store data, you can store as much of data you want, you can choose any of these services. Amazon Web Services has S3, they have blob storage. Okay, GCP has its own database, Dynamo, it has one DynamoDB, right? So Google has its own database. You can store your data in any of these platforms and pay rent for that. Since you are storing your data, we have to pay rental for that, right? So like this, they have lot of services. Another good example of these services is, see, we are hearing about blockchain. We are talking about blockchain. So for blockchain, we need to create the setup in our laptop. We have to create that infrastructure setup. But can we do it? It takes a lot of time for us and it is challenging to do. Simply take advantage of the cloud platform. AWS, Azure, these people have the blockchain service. Whatever infrastructure setup is required to do something with the blockchain, they are creating it in the cloud. You just go do your transactions. Another trending thing or interesting thing is quantum computing. Everybody is talking about quantum now, right? So we don't have any real quantum computers with us, but AWS has created a service for quantum computing. So they are providing a platform which looks like a quantum platform. So when you run your algorithm there, it will be running in the quantum environment. So you need not worry about the quantum infrastructure. You log in into AWS, create account and go to the quantum service, do whatever you want to do with the quantum computing. You want to run some algorithm, you want to solve some puzzle, you want to break some security algorithm, everything you can do in the quantum. Condition apply, you have to pay some rental. But it is easy and cheap, because instead of myself creating such infrastructure, I can take advantage of the services which are readily available. That's what I am saying. Each of these platforms, they are having lot of services. Some to store, some to compute, some to run ML algorithms, some to take care of IoT, some with blockchain, some with quantum. Like this, they have lot of specialized services and they are competing among each other. If AWS is coming with one tool, one service, immediately these two are launching that same thing. Or GCP is launching something, AWS is copying it. So they are growing like anything in the market. See, they are all doing it for customer purpose. We want to take advantage of that. We want to do some business, some task I want to do it in the cloud. I can choose any one of them, right? So these services allow businesses like us to build, deploy and scale the applications without managing the physical infrastructure. Okay, without managing the physical infrastructure. So whatever RAM, whatever CPU clusters you need, whatever network bandwidth you need, everything will be provided in the cloud. Okay, that is the advantage. So in the market, these three are the big three: AWS, Azure and GCP, right? Let's understand each one of them. Let's talk about AWS, right? So AWS, obviously it is a product by Amazon. This was one of the first cloud computing platforms in the market. Okay, somewhere around 2006, AWS was started in 2006. This was the first platform. They have provided only for storage. We used to store, right? So it has see, AWS has 26 regions. So they have divided, they have placed their services in different regions across India, across the world, sorry. So in India, AWS has two centers. One is Mumbai, other is Hyderabad. Only two places they have hosted their services. It means there are some data centers where their services are running. One in Mumbai and the second one in Hyderabad. Okay, so in AWS, whatever service you want to use, you have to pay for it, right? AWS is the world's largest cloud service provider with 34% of the global market. So it is actually some old number, I believe, but it is AWS is around 50% now. I think 2025, AWS has reached around 50% of the global market, right? So provides more than 240 plus services. Day by day, they are increasing more number of services. Whatever new thing is coming in the market, AWS is converting into a service and launching it in the platform. So if you are interested, you don't have infrastructure, you don't have huge money, you come, open account in AWS, do your job, pay us a little amount. Okay, and some most popular AWS services are Amazon EC2 for computation, obviously S3 for storage, then we have EBS for block storage, Lambda very popular serverless, and RDS for databases. These are all few, but there are 200, around 300 plus services now available in the AWS, right? Why is AWS so popular? It has strong track record for reliability, means it is available so high and the failure rate is very low. Okay, with many services achieving uptime significantly higher than their stated SLA, service level agreement. AWS says if you are if you are executing some web application in my portal, the chances of error is 0.0004%, they say. But they say it like this, but it is much better than what it is. So it means the error chance is only very less, this much maybe. Okay, so it has very good track record for reliability, right? The key strength of AWS is massive, it includes massive scale. It can expand like anything. You want 100 TB, 1000 TB, you want to store 1 lakh TB, you want to store 1 crore TB of data, they will provide you, right? And extensive service catalog. Among these three, AWS, Azure and GCP, AWS has more number of services, right? The only challenging thing is it is more complex to manage and optimize for cost. Some services are very cheap, some are very costly. That's only problem with AWS. See, all these, there are hundreds of people using, but some popular what we know, right? Coursera is using AWS, Netflix is using AWS, Sony Live, all these are using AWS today also, right? The next platform is Microsoft Azure. So this is by Microsoft. It came in the year 2010, somewhere around 2010, right? It secures second position with 25% of market share. So I would say around 50% or let's say 45% is AWS, and then some 35% is Azure. Okay, so almost 80% is managed by these two now. Okay, so Azure is Microsoft's cloud service. So this is a product of Microsoft, right? It also provides a lot of services, including infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. We will study this in the module 4 of this course, right? We will understand what are these IaaS, PaaS and SaaS. The key strength of this Microsoft Azure is it can easily integrate with Microsoft ecosystem, means Microsoft products like Teams, .NET, Office 365, what all Microsoft related tools are there, they can easily integrate with the Azure platform, right? That is one advantage. The other differentiating factor with AWS is Azure supports hybrid cloud capabilities. It means you can have private and public cloud both. Some data you can put in your local machine, some data you can put in your cloud. Azure, you can put it in Azure cloud. So it supports that facility of having hybrid cloud. Okay, it is possible, right? The companies who use this Azure, see Walmart, Starbucks, Coca-Cola, Bank of America, all these use Microsoft Azure. And the third one is GCP, Google Cloud. This is one of the youngest one. First AWS came, then came Azure, and finally came GCP. So it came very late into the market. Though it came, but it is known for its speed, scale and innovation. Okay, so it is increasing now. It has only drawback is it has smaller catalog. See, GCP has smaller service catalog compared to AWS and Azure. Service catalog means for quantum computing, AWS has brought one platform, Azure and GCP have not. For blockchain, AWS has bought one service or introduced one service. Azure also have done, but GCP have not done. So GCP is building its platform only for personal use. See, Google already has lot of products. No, Google has YouTube, its Gmail, all that it is taking care of. So GCP is being developed only for its own products, not for public use. That's why it is not doing that much business. It's focusing more on its own products, right? See, as the newest of the three major cloud providers, GCP has focused its efforts on performance, developer experience and data driven workloads. right? And it strengthens Google products, its own products. See, the Google search engine and video sharing platform, that is YouTube. So all the YouTube related stuff is using this GCP platform, right? So that's why its market share is very less. It's less because it is having less number of services. Very less people are using this GCP, right? So this is about these three platforms, AWS, Azure and GCP. Okay, they have extensive services. And who are using GCP? Spotify, Mercedes-Benz, PayPal, right? All these companies are using this GCP platform. There is a wide list, but a few important customers who are using this GCP platform, right? So we know them, we use them regularly. Let's compare the services, right? So let us talk about computation services for computing, for execution. See, if you are looking for a virtual machine, if you are looking for some virtual machine, in AWS it is called EC2, in Azure we have Azure Virtual Machine, in GCP we have Google Compute Engine, very, very powerful. Okay, then for platform as a service, we have here Elastic Beanstalk, here we have app services, here we have Google App Engine. Same way for container, we have Kubernetes service, here also Kubernetes, here also Kubernetes, they have their own Kubernetes service. And the fourth one is the serverless computing. This is very much important and trending. We are going to study this in our course in later units, right? Serverless computing. So AWS Lambda is the service. Here it is Azure Functions, and here is Google Cloud Functions. Okay, if you talk about storage, in AWS we have RDS. In Azure we have all these three. We can use SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL. Whereas in GCP it has its own Cloud SQL. Same way NoSQL, file storage, right? Archive storage. To store archive storage means data which is not regularly used, you can store it in AWS in Amazon Glacier. Here we have archive and here we have Google storage. Like this, for every kind of service there are services, every kind of requirement there are services in the platforms, right? Little comparison, you see, AWS in 2006, Azure in 2010 and GCP in 2011. Market share, this is again changing, this is a little old one, but I would say this is 45 today and this is 35, this has also increased to 35, this remains same at 10, right? And then the core strength of AWS is compute and storage. Azure, it can integrate well with Microsoft tools. And Kubernetes is mainly for big data, AML and Kubernetes. Google Cloud is for big data, AML and Kubernetes. So all AML related. See, Google Colab is one, right? Google Colab we are able to access. So Google Colab is the product of Google. So it is stored in the GCP platform, right? Then compute service, we have seen this like this. Pricing, you see, AWS is costly, Azure is manageable and Google Cloud is minimal. But now this has become moderate, not costly, it has become moderate now. Okay, so this way there are a lot of services in each of these platforms. If you ask which one is the best one now out of these three, right? So we see they all depends on what project you are taking care of, on what you are going to work, right? Azure continues to expand and Azure is growing like anything and has a strong enterprise integration. Okay, making both AWS and Azure as the competitors. But currently AWS is leading the market, then followed by Azure, right? AWS is expanding like anything in recent 1 year, 2025 itself, they have achieved a lot, AWS. Okay, so currently AWS is in the top rank, then comes the Azure and then GCP. Though see, Azure and AWS are competing like anything. Maybe after a few years, AWS and Azure will be 50-50%. Okay, but I don't, we cannot underestimate AWS. It might take 70 and Azure may become 30, but for maybe in few years, both can become equal because Azure is also growing like anything. That's the reason we did not consider GCP in our lab course. We are considering only AWS and Azure for practicing, right? So in the week 1 lab exercise, please try to create account and explore the services, right? This is about the comparison between the 3 different cloud platforms. Thank you.